Hello, everybody out there, and welcome to another episode of the Talk That Talk Show with me, Barry Holmes. I'm so happy to be here with you guys on a weekday episode. A lot of exciting things on the horizon. Big shout out to my boy Brian Spawn, who's tuned in on our Instagram live stream. Also want to give a big time shout out to Coralista, who's tuned in on our Instagram live as well. Robert Brantley Jr. on our Facebook live. Big shout out to you. We had a lot of eventful things happen throughout the week. But, I definitely like to take experiences and break them down with you guys on this podcast. And I think that, part of which being so is the fact that, I'm able to, get those things out, express my mind, and get you guys to understand not only a little bit more about myself, but at the same time, be able for you guys to look within yourself and assess your things and see the things that you may see. And, I think that that's the big thing as to how this podcast has expanded. A lot of times I was actually explaining somebody to this in the store about the podcast, and they seemed surprised that I have a podcast. But the thing is, this podcast stemmed originally as a sports outlet for me. I think that for those that don't remember, I did a lot of sports media and covering the Knicks, covering the Giants, covering the Jets. And this podcast really stems from those experiences that I had on the court, on the field, in the locker room. And, at some point, for me, sports media stopped, obviously, as we know, because the corporation that I worked for, the opportunities got cut down after COVID. A lot of times, people don't realize just how much was affected from COVID in those times. And, I still love those days when I was at New York Knicks, Madison Square Garden, interviewing, J.R. Smith or Carmelo Anthony, waiting in the locker room for him. To say that I don't miss those times, I'd be lying to you guys. Being on the field, at Giant Stadium, being at those cold weather games with Bobby, taking pictures, dealing with Vern, giving us unrealistic expectations. It was the whole fun behind, sports media. And to think that, we're at a time now where I'm in a completely different career path, it's just really something to reflect back on. And, for me, I think that part of the reason, let's put it this way, of course I do miss, working on the field and working in sports media, but I think the thing that helps me to, kind of ease that, absence is just how much enjoyment I'm having in my life right now. I think, at times, when I was talking to Jeff too, I was explaining that a lot of times people do things because they have to. I think when, you get tired or when you get really aggravated or you start to see your patience wear thin, oftentimes it's because people are stuck doing things for a long period of time that they don't want to do. And I feel like, once the sports media aspect of my life, in a way, I wouldn't say ended because now it's transitioned obviously to this podcast. But I think that in transitioning and then, working in the education field like I had for Playworks for some time, and then losing that job to the pandemic, even thinking about it now, it's a little tough talking about it. But, to look at the progress and, not only within this podcast, but within my own life, to think that, back then, things were just tied to just those Knicks games, tied to just, Pure Sports New York. I didn't have my own brand, and then to look back now and have freedom, man, to say whatever I feel like, to go on this podcast whenever I want to still have the loyal support from those people, those viewers, those listeners, not only just in New Jersey, but across the country. We were able to grow this podcast, grow this brand just off of consistency and transparency. And, just looking back on it, I feel as though when you think about the depth of the podcast, from extending from just being a sports podcast to now transitioning, in episode 245, 244, to being a full spectrum podcast where we talk about literally everything and anything. I think that it really is what has been able to not only captivate new audiences like Coralista or like a Brian Fisher tuned in. It's that unpredictability of not knowing what you're going to hear, but at the same time knowing that you're getting 100% of Barry. That's what continues to have people tuned in, like Morris Brown. That's what continues to have people say, hey, when are the next episodes of the Talk That Talk show? The coolest shit in the world is being able to have high schoolers, these high school kids, coming up to me saying, yo, I saw your episode on YouTube, man. That was pretty dope. I think that, and I think a cool thing about being a leader and having things like that is that we're always tested, right? And I remember in my last UBA match, we had finally slayed the dragon, right? We had finally beat this team. And, one of the guys that, we're constantly jawing at, we kind of got into it a little bit. And then with me getting into it and him getting me out of character, a kid in Darian LeMay Jr., who I love to death, he followed my lead because, again, he's that type of loyal dude. And, in a way, that little altercation that we had, kind of took away from the joy of actually winning and beating this team, right? So I think that, overall, experiences like that where, you get to step back and be like, I probably shouldn't have, told that guy he's a fucking asshole, I may have known it, but, I didn't have to tell this guy that, and I think that, in doing so and then looking back and seeing, people that look up to you, I think that it comes a certain level of responsibility, not only to own a podcast, to own a brand, but to be able to carry yourself every single hour of every single minute, every day, living to the highest standards, man, because it's difficult. We're all human, man. Sometimes people can try and take us out of our character, but it's on you to be able to, stay true to who you are and stay responsible, man. And I think that, in doing so, that's how you continue to have more people to follow you, that get you to listen to you. And I'm not just talking about followers in terms of numbers. And I think that a lot of times, too, when you talk about the word followers, oftentimes it relates to a numerical number, because in our age and day and time, people equate success in a way to followers and the numbers. And I just think that couldn't be far from the truth, because if you take, 2 or 3 of my best friends, those best people, those people that I can count on, I'll take that support over millions of fake support, right? I know that, my girlfriend, she laughs at me all the time because I love calling my friends, And I feel like, when I call them, they answer, and I can talk with them and have positive, interactions. And it's those types of support and those people that let you know that they're in your corner. It only strengthens you and gets you to continue to want to stay and motivated and keep grinding. And, to continuously come here on this podcast and not only see new people, but see those same loyal supporters, those same people that's been here since day one, that shit means the world to me. When I tell you, my boy Brian Spawn hit me up one time after the episode. He messaged me and he sent me the voice message. He goes, hey, Barry, I love you, man. I love the show, but you butchered our guy's team. I mean, come on. It's Nico Heishier. He's our captain of the team. How can you butcher his name? But it's like, you have people that'll tell you, oh, it's a great episode, great show, but they won't hold you accountable. It's people like Brian Spawn that I want in my corner to be like, hey, Barry, you fucked up a little bit. You got to make sure you say Nico Heishier's name right. I appreciate that, because I'm the type of person, if you tell me something, I'll correct it and make sure of that, right? So, again, I appreciate not only those people that say, hey, you're great, but I appreciate my friends, that friend groups that say, hey, yo, man, you're messing up. We got to tighten up a little bit here, man. Yo, where's the episode, man? What's going on? Yo, what's up with the merch? I think that, people that continue to hold me accountable, continue to push me forward in the right direction. And when you talk about accountability, that's the biggest thing that when we talk about sports translating life, that accountability is what, separates people that get followers beyond just numerical numbers. There's a reason why LeBron James, has success every single season. And you have people like KD who go out there, and I can't believe I said KD, but who have success, right? They let their work speak for themselves, but at the same time, they're garnering that support because of the fact that they're putting out that work. You can say what you want about KD, but the guy works hard as shit, man. He's perfected his craft. And, when it came down to it, me being, trying to be the leader that I continue to try and be, I was looking at my game bowling wise, and I'm like, why can't I just put up these big numbers? And then I started to look at some of the things that I was doing, like accepting every drink that someone wants to buy you, you know what I'm saying? Having multiple drinks, having the presence of mind to be like, you know what? I'll save that till after we're done bowling, right? And then eliminating beer entirely, being able to talk to my pops on the phone and encourage him by, saying, hey, just from drinking water and cutting out beer and, slimming down a little bit on the things that I really do like, just cutting it down, I was able to be down and hop on the scale. I had to step on the scale. I was like, damn, Doc, is this shit for real? And I saw I was down to 225, which is 15 pounds down for me. And yeah, I can sit and be happy about that. But the thing is, when you have these benchmark things that you accomplish after making certain sacrifices and after putting in the work, it just makes the outcome so much more sweeter. I love bowling, man. And one of the things that, again, I had to say and look within myself was like, I was cheating the game. I was doing a disservice to myself. We get 4 practice games on our account every week. And I can say in that, the last couple months of 2023, I didn't use not 1 or 2 of them. I was cheating the game. But afterwards, after, bowling league and, sitting and thinking to myself, I need to get better. I need to start practicing. And again, practicing and putting in that work, even after a great set, not resting on going out there and still practicing. And one of the best feelings, and when we talk about being a leader, one of the best feelings in the world, I couldn't go to the, last, I guess on Thursday because I had a neck injection, one of my final neck injections, hopefully. I couldn't be there. And I wish that I could be there, but to be able to have my father send me a picture of my sister, my brother-in-law, TK, one of my good friends who was subbing for me, Chris, who had shot 730 that day, they stayed after to practice, right? And in them staying after to practice, that translated to me and was like, damn, the shit that I've been doing for the last 3, 4, 5 weeks of staying after to practice, really it's means something. Because even if you can remove it, if you can remove me from the situation and that process, that effect is still happening, that's how you know you're on the right path, man. And that text message that I got from my dad said, hey, Barry, we got the job done and we're still out here fucking working, man. I don't know how, I just wanted to get up. I know I was still in pain a little bit from the injection, but it just gave me so much life to be able to be like, damn, I got to get back out there as soon as it's ready. I got to go back out there and practice because my team wants it that bad. We've been in a position where we was at the top at the first half all season long. And now we're at the position where we're continuing to fight and claw just to get back. And you look and we're getting our win for the first time in a long time. And what does the team do? They go back out there to continue to practice. That's why I'm not concerned about what our team is going to do in the second half. Because we are ready, man. And I feel like when you have that type of preparedness and preparation, it's infectious, man. It's infectious. So I'm ready for us in the second half. And again, when we talk about putting in the work, right? Now we're in a position where, I've got the average on Monday night to 220, right? We're up there. It's not a fluke anymore. People are saying, damn, this guy's rolling. And then you have a situation where you can go in 2 pass. Do I want to, take my foot off the gas pedal so I can start putting more money into pots, right? Do I limit and cap myself and pretty much stop the exponential growth that I've had in these last couple weeks of the season? Or do you keep going forward, right? Do you not worry about that little chump change that you're missing out on and continue to go up on the right path? So many times, and I think that, this bowling average thing is a perfect segue, because so many times people limit themselves or say, oh, I can only do this good because if not, then, I'm going to be on the radar and I'm not going to be able to get this. I think that so many times we're so worried about this little scraps at the bottom and stopping our progress. Dude, there could be something way more significant out there with this progress going forward. I'm trying to shoot that tray bomb. I've come dangerously close these last times. And if I continue, say if I was in that position where I'm like, oh, I'm going to stop. I'm going to start dumping 10 pins, right? Then will I ever have that chance to shoot tray bomb, right? So I just have to say that, a lot of times, sometimes people cap their success or try to put a cap on the things that they're able to accomplish. And if you ever do that, you're not going to be able to shoot for the moon, man. Shoot for the stars. We talk about it, right? You talk about setting unrealistic goals, but how many times are you truly shooting for the stars, right? So in doing so, like I said, these last couple weeks of the bowling season, where I've seen that I'm doing the things that I've wanted to do all season long. Shooting 700 back-to-back. Shooting 279 on that third game multiple times. Shooting multiple 700s in multiple places. Winning UBA matches. These are all the things that happen when you start putting the work in. When you have people patting you on the back saying, damn, I had Bill the fucking Thru. I love Bill. Bill's the man, Bill Stahl, person I look up to in the bowling game. He came up to me, he said, damn, I couldn't believe that I was getting more pins than you handicap. And then I looked at what you did tonight and I could see why. That to me was one of the greatest compliments I could even have. Bowling against the Steve Sakis, Hall of Famers, and you looking up at the board and like, damn, I got the highest score on the set. You don't get that from fucking sandbagging. You don't get that from taking your foot off the gas pedal, man. You gotta keep going, bro. And I'm just here to say that, you gotta be able to put into perspective hard work, man. Because I'm not nearly where I want to go. But when you hit these benchmarks and you start to see these things and start to build that confidence, eating, for you anime people out there, getting those sensu beans, right? You start eating, you start getting that confidence, right? And I think that, right now, where we're at as a team, as a leader where I'm at, I can look at my team and say, these guys are putting 110% out there. And, that's all you can want, man. That's all you can want. And, I think that another thing, too, that in a way kind of translates a little bit, too, is some of the things that, we encounter at work as well, too. And, I think that, when you have a successful working environment and you have people that you enjoy working with, it doesn't really seem like work, right? And for me to be able to put on this second job of working at the dispensary where they're literally putting me on their forefront, leading their social media campaign, being on the story, being put on that Instagram, getting all these different opportunities, meeting with brand ambassadors. I think that if you're not on 110 all the time, right, then you're not going to be able to take advantage of these opportunities that come forward, right? And, in doing so, when me finding this opportunity of getting this second job and maximizing what I can do and maximizing my capabilities, I've seen that, I've been able to do a lot more and have a lot more opportunities. Yo, we were able to go to this dope party. Big shout out to Fernway. Big shout out to Fernway Kate. She invited us to this dope rooftop event. Literally, this dope rooftop event. It was in Hoboken. Big shout out to Fernway. They gave us free merchandise, free food, free drinks. But, one of the things that I told Fernway Kate, big shout out to her, I told her I was going to give her a big time shout out on this next episode. But the one thing that you guys got to try out, if you have not done so, I think the big thing about Fernway is they got really great tasting carts, man. The carts that they have are fantastic. And I think the coolest thing about their carts is they have natural terps, and they're usually testing very high, right? And I wanted to share with you guys one of my favorite carts that they came out. This was actually one of the first that I ever had when Fernway came onto the scene. And it is this Barry Hayes, all right? This Barry Hayes by Fernway. This one is super dope because it is going to be 5% in terp, 85% THC. It is a 100% hitter. For a lot of you guys that like carts, a lot of you women that like carts, Fernway is second to none when it comes to taste. If you want to get, geeky, you can say, yeah, I like the Rhythm pens, or yeah, I like Cookies pens. But you got to go with what's made here in New Jersey. And Fernway is super legit. This Barry Hayes, if you get a chance, if you're on the dispensary scene, go check them out. And I think another cool thing about the disposables that people don't realize is with Fernways, they kind of look like these jewel pods, man. We got Squib here. Big shout out to Chloe. She says they're super terpy. Those terps are really what's going to give you that good taste. So, I love these Fernway pens. They're super compact. I can literally almost hold this in my entire hand like this. You never know. Just slide it in the pocket. Fernway is second to none with their technology, their taste. It's super terpy. You gotta enjoy it, man. So if you guys get a chance, big shout out to Fernway. Thank you for inviting me to that rooftop event. Had to take advantage of that opportunity. So I want to extend that appreciation to you guys and go check out this Fernway Barry Hayes disposable. We got Brian Fisher here who's tuned in. He goes, hey, buddy, I like the stuff you made in the past. I think you're very likable and gregarious. When I think about distinguishing yourself in the sports media landscape, I think focusing on economic elements of sports and in-depth analysis on scheme. Have you ever covered that type of stuff before? Oh, definitely, for sure, Brian. I think that if you understand, if you tune into some of our earlier episodes, we've tried to highlight different topics other than just, regurgitation. I think one of the things that, you talk about in an oversaturated market is trying to find out those specialized topics, like you said, like in-depth analysis on scheme. For example, breaking down plays specifically from the Super Bowl on formations, right? Or when you talk about the analysis as far as, the Knicks. I think one of the biggest things when you talk about those specific elements that you talked about in that comment, my analysis of the Knicks, on a weekly and weekend basis is one thing that I definitely do look forward to, and how we've able to garnish those, loyal Knicks followers. I think engagement is another thing that's really helped us out as well too. Not only on Facebook, Brian, but also on Instagram and on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. I think that engagement, I even got my, girlfriend's father who's tuned in. He might joke around with me and say, hey, I caught your podcast, Barry. And, I love it, man. I love those interactions with him on an everyday basis, and being able to have people like you, Brian, that can, suggest some things. I think that can only help us. And I do miss you on that baseball pitch, man. He's still playing. But I'll say this, guys, I think that, again, when you hit those benchmarks, right? We talked about hitting those little benchmarks and, hitting those notches to go forward and accomplishing those goals. There's no telling what you can do, what those heights are, right? If I capped out, if I would sandbag per se, could I ever really get that 300? I think something that happened with my girlfriend will be a great representation and a perfect way, to segue to the end of this podcast. But my girlfriend yesterday, she came into the bowling alley and she was in tears, man. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, I don't think I did anything wrong, So I'm looking, I'm like, hey, what's going on? And I think, again, immediately when you see tears, you think that something's wrong. That's our first, perception is that something's wrong. So I'm like, hey, what's going on? And, she really, was able to, after, little sniffles and, crying a little bit, she pretty much was like, yo, I got my heartbeat back. And it took me a little bit to kind of process it at first, what she was saying. But for those of you that don't know, last year, my girlfriend had open heart surgery to replace a heart valve. And when she got the mechanical valve, when they took her basically off the operating table, her heart stopped. And basically, heart wasn't beating anymore. So they had to put on a pacemaker onto her heart to give her natural, I guess, rhythm back so that she could live a happy, healthy life. And, after a while, I guess she had her doctor's appointment with her doctor. Big shout out to Dr. Alley. But he let her know that her heart is 100% non-dependent on the pacemaker. So, guys, for those of you that don't know, man, it is nothing short of a miracle. The thing that happened to my girlfriend, they said that, surgeons can do this surgery 100 times. And the 1% of the time it happens to where after they replace the valve, that your natural heartbeat stops and that you would need a pacemaker, right? So, it is nothing short of a miracle because she was told that she would need this pacemaker for the rest of her life, that she would be dependent entirely on this pacemaker, right? And I think that, if she had limited herself and limited her thinking and not gone to the gym with me, not pushed to make certain sacrifices as far as eating-wise, drinking-wise, doing certain things in the healthier direction, maybe her heart would not have recovered its own heartbeat on its own. But again, when you shoot for the moon, when you shoot for the stars, when you do the right things, when you put the work in, more times than not, you will be rewarded for it. And, the tears of joy from my girlfriend's face to be able to say that she has her own heartbeat back without a pacemaker, it is super encouraging, very happy I am. And I said this, that we will be wearing our Do It For Doc jerseys to celebrate my girlfriend getting her natural heartbeat back. I don't think that, how can I say? I don't think you can put into words, the happiness. I can try and tell you guys just happy I am. But, to look on my girlfriend's face, and see, her tell me about this miracle that happened with her, there's no telling what is next to come. I feel like when good things happen, they come in bundles. I feel like sometimes we say that when bad things come, they come in bunches. I think when good things come, they come in bunches too. So I think that, this is not only, the ceiling for Ashley, but I think this is just the beginning of more good things to come for not only her, but for us in general, I'm very happy. And I think that, again, I had a conversation with somebody in the store. Big shout out to her. She's a big time loyal customer at the dispensary. Love her to death. But one of the times she had asked me, she's like, oh, so, how long you been with your girlfriend? And I told her, it's been a couple of years. We're just taking it easy, taking our time. And she immediately goes, how much time do you need? What's going on? And I think that at times, and she was obviously a married woman too, but I think that oftentimes people in their own situations, they may be happy, they may be enjoying, they may be doing their thing, but sometimes they want to profess their life on you, and just because they're doing something they think that you should be doing the exact same thing, the exact same way they are. And what you have to understand is that everyone moves at their own pace. Just because, I'm not, rushing out the door right now to put a ring on Ashley's finger doesn't mean I don't love her just as much, right? I think that, with certain goals that we both have and a certain happiness that we have within each other, not to push certain things on each other, I think that's what makes it so happy for us to be able to spend every minute, every second together and want to be together. And I see people that say, oh, I hate my husband. Oh, I hate my wife. It's like, how could you do that? How could you say that? This is the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, right? So, I think that with me and Ashley being able to understand and, appreciate our happiness and the way I make her feel and the way she makes me feel, and the way we're able to, at the same time, move at the same pace and move at our own pace, I think that's how we've been able to both see great things happen pretty much simultaneously and parallel to each other in our own respective fields, right? She's done an amazing job and gotten, amazing opportunities in the education field. I've been doing pretty well here in the cannabis industry, getting a lot of opportunities, a lot of invites, a lot of people meeting people, a lot of accolades, and it's only the beginning for the both of us, right? So I think that at times, not even just specifically with this comment that she said about the whole marriage thing, but I think that, if we can, just focus on the things that we are trying to accomplish and focus on moving at our own pace, we'll start to see that our own progress will go even more exponentially. Because so many times, if you get caught up, what do they tell you all the time? When you're running, right, and you're running that race, I'm not looking to my left or I'm not looking to my right, because that shit slows you down, right? When you're running, you're looking straight ahead, straight forward, right? And I think that a lot of times, if you worry about just looking and running at your pace, right, then you don't know who maybe goes past you here. You don't know who maybe is behind you over there. If you run your race at your pace, you will accomplish the things that you want to 1,000%. And I think there's too many times if we're caught up on what this person's doing over here or what this person has that I don't have over here, then you don't have 10 toes to stand down on, man. You gotta appreciate the space that you're in. And I can tell you right now that I love the life that I live. And I love having Ashley in my life. I love feeling, happiness with her telling me that she has her natural heartbeat back. Being able to share that miracle with her and have someone that wants to share it with me, right? These are the things that I look forward to and that I appreciate, and what helps me to get my eyes open in the morning, to be able to want to record a podcast for you guys before I go to the Devils game and enjoy some brotherly time with my bro. You know what I'm saying? Everything is about priorities and perspective, right? This podcast is a priority to me, to be able to share my thoughts, share the things that are going on with my mind, share the things that are going on in my life with you all, because it is a priority to me. And it's also a priority to me to, hold myself to the highest standard, because there are people that look up to me. There are people that may look up to you that you don't know about. That's why you got to always be 100. You always got to be 1,000. Stan the Man didn't get his name because I called him that. That's what people in the Prudential Center called him when I came there. They called him Stan the Man. So that didn't just happen overnight. Your respect comes from the work you put in. And, what I'm here to tell you guys is that I'm not happy being just a 220 right now, right? I'm not happy with us just taking first place in the first half of the league. I'm not happy just having a job at the dispensary. I want more. And everybody that's out there tuned in on this podcast, whether you're tuned in on Facebook, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, you name it. Whatever apparatus you're listening to on this podcast right now, look within yourself and ask yourself, are you giving it 110%? My boy Dustin, I love him to death. That Monday night, last night, we had a chance to take the total wood. Because I'll say this. If we took every shot and threw it like our last, could we have won that game? So I look to Dustin. I say to Dustin, did you throw every shot like it was your last? Right? I look at myself, right? Did I throw every shot like it was my last? Tyree, did he throw every shot like it was his last? Last night, we lost by 3 sticks in a very winnable game, in a very winnable set. And it was a big, representation to me of going 110% all the time, running through the finish line. And Dustin, and we were all supportive in the chat. We're like, yo, we're going to get him back next time. But my boy Dustin, he took accountability. He was like, you know what, guys, this was on me. And I said to him, we win as a team, we lose as a team. But that's why I always will have the confidence in Dustin when it comes down to his next time to step up. That's why I have the confidence in my brother. When we were in that championship match, I think my brother guttered, and then he came back and threw that spare and, propelled us to where we needed to go to get that play-in game, right? Everybody has their opportunity to step up. And, last night we did it, right? We that 691 I had, yeah, it was great, but it was short because we didn't win, And I think that, again, when you can hold each other accountable, say, hey, we'll pick this up next time. Hey, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't throw your plastic ball while, we're fighting for points right now. I think that, these are all things that we can say to each other. And that was something that Tim said in the chat the following day. So again, for us to all hold each other accountable, to be able to go out there and still have confidence within each other, to go out there and perform, I have no doubt in my mind that next time that we come out in the lanes, Dustin is due for a 720 or higher. I know next time we come on the lanes, Tyree is probably going to get at least 6 in a row, one of the 3 games. And damn well I'm not going to miss no 10-pin. Tori, they've been saying Tori is the best at the 10 pins. I'm coming for that title, Tori. I'm coming for the best 10-pin shooter in the family title, all right? Get that glow ball. Let's shoot some 10 pins in practice, Tori. But hey, that's what it's all about, man. Pushing each other in all seriousness, all jokes aside. I love, pushing each other, being there for each other and, accomplishing goals together. And that's what teammates are for. That's what it's all about. I love bowling with my family. It's something I look forward to every single week, and it's something that I don't take lightly, man. I live a great life. I have a lot of great people in my life, and they make my life what it is, man. I love my boy Jeff. He's my best friend. I love my girlfriend Ashley. Love my brother Tyre. Love my sister Tori. Love my mom. Love my dad. I love my brother-in-law TK. I love Tyree's girlfriend Ivy. You know what I'm saying? I love everybody that supports me. I love, every one of you guys that tune in on the Facebook, everybody that's tuned in on the Instagram Live. Your support, you all collectively. If I forgot your name, I'm sorry. If I missed your name, just know I love you. I love your support. It means the world to me. And you guys collectively are the reason why I'm able to come out here fiery and continue to work. Continue to have the work ethic that I do and pour my heart out for you guys every single week, because that's what it's all about here at the Talk That Talk Show. I would love to be here all day, but I gotta hop off the air. Me and Tyree are on our way to the Devils game. I'm driving. We're not taking NJ Transit today, so I love you all. Thank you guys so much for rocking out with us here at the Talk That Talk Show every single week. You know what time it is. I'm pouring my heart out, my mind, 1,000% for you all. If anything that you've learned from this podcast today, sprint through the finish line. All right? Sprint through the finish line. All right? That's the one thing that I can say, guys. Sprint through the finish line. And on that note, I love you all, and I will see you all next week.